The Miami Dolphins had a roller coaster season last year, and it almost felt like two different seasons with how drastic the beginning of the year was compared to the end. But really, this pattern began for them in the offseason when the team first fired Brian Flores after 2 straight winning seasons, and he filed a big lawsuit against the team alleging a variety of different things, like the Dolphins tried to tank in the 2019 season, his first year of being the team's head coach, how they tried to get him to tamper with Tom Brady, and there were some other things that were put into that lawsuit, but it was just overall a huge mess. The Dolphins owner, Stephen Ross, would end up being fined millions of dollars. He'd be kicked out of some committees. The Dolphins would also lose a first-round pick in this past year's draft. The team was punished pretty heavily after the NFL did conclude the Dolphins tampered with Brady and Sean Payton. But after that rough patch to begin the offseason, the Dolphins actually made a ton of franchise-altering decisions. First being they would hire Mike McDaniel, the former offensive coordinator from the 49ers, and he quickly became one of the best offensive minds in the entire league. They would trade for Tyreek Hill, one of the fastest players we've ever seen in the NFL. He's on a Hall of Fame trajectory. They would give up multiple picks to get him from the Kansas City Chiefs, pay him a large sum of money, but their spending in free agency wasn't done. They would get Teron Armstead, a Pro Bowl, All-Pro type of tackle from the New Orleans Saints. They would sign Raheem Mostert, the former 49er running back who Mike McDaniel knew. They also brought in another offensive lineman, Connor Williams from the Dallas Cowboys. He became one of the best centers in the league last year. So the Dolphins as a team were looking a lot better. They would start the year 3-0, looking like potentially one of the best teams in the league. But then shortly after that, Tua Tagovailoa got hurt on Thursday Night Football against the Bengals. They would lose 3 straight games and find themselves right back at 3-3. But Tua would return, the Dolphins would take off again, winning 5 straight games. Their offense became one of the best in the league. Tua was putting up MVP numbers, and the team was the number 2 seed in the AFC through 12 weeks. But then the season would completely flip on its head as the team got into December. They'd lose 5 straight games, Tua would get hurt again, and you had people saying all across the internet, it's just the same old Dolphins. They'd squeak out one of the ugliest wins of the season against the Joe Flacco-led Jets in Week 18 to clinch their first playoff appearance since 2016, but then went into the wildcard game against their division rival, the Buffalo Bills, without their starting quarterback and as a huge underdog. The Dolphins got down by double digits early in the game and it all but fell over, but the team battled to the end and ultimately gave everyone in Orchard Park a massive scare, only losing by 3 points with their third-string quarterback under center. But I think the Dolphins organization overall felt encouraged about the progress the team made last year, and with the right couple of moves in the upcoming offseason and a bit more consistency in year 2 under Mike McDaniel, that this team could be one of the best in the league, and not just for one half of the season, but for the entirety. With that approach in mind, the Dolphins once again put all of their chips into the middle of the table. The 2022 offseason was largely about retooling the offense, the offensive line, getting Tyreek Hill and some more running backs. But this offseason was more about improving the defense, which fell off drastically last year and was a big reason why the team couldn't really stay consistent. The first order of business was trading for All-Pro corner Jalen Ramsey. They gave up a 3rd-round pick and their 3rd-string tight end Hunter Long for one of the best corners in the league. They signed David Long Jr. from the Tennessee Titans on a cheap deal, which was seen as one of the best value signings of this offseason to help out their linebacking core. But their biggest move, in my opinion, was getting Vic Fangio, the former Broncos head coach and longtime defensive coordinator, to be their new leader of their defense. Fangio is widely seen as one of the best defensive minds in NFL history. Most of the schemes and coverages you see today were founded by Fangio. So to have a guy with that ability to call plays and scheme up coverages with the talent the Dolphins have on defense, it's a very scary combination for teams across the league. Your top 2 cornerbacks are Jalen Ramsey and Xavier Howard. You have one of the best up-and-coming safeties in the league with Javon Holland. You got a great pass rushing duo of Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips. And on the interior, you have Christian Wilkins and Zach Sealer, who are some of the best run-stopping defensive tackles in the league. And then Jerome Baker and David Long Jr. as your 2 starting inside linebackers, and there's not really a massive hole on this defense. So I expect the Dolphins defense, which was ranked the 24th in terms of points allowed per game, to be a lot better next season. So with the defense likely taking a massive step in 2023, it's now about the offense continuing where they left off for much of last season. All the key pieces will be back, and they even added some more depth, which is always beneficial to a team. Dolphins signed Robbie Chosen, who I think is a super underrated wide receiver 3. They brought in Braxton Berrios. He can help out in the slot. They They drafted running back Devon Achane in the 3rd round of the draft out of Texas A&M, who's already one of the fastest players in the league, and he adds yet another electrifying piece to this offense, which is already one of the most dynamic in the league. Isaiah Wynn, Dan Feeney, and Cedric Ogobani were also brought in to be some depth pieces for their offensive line in case of injury. There's still a big rumor out there that the Dolphins could sign Dalvin Cook, which you don't necessarily need because of how deep they already are at the running back position, but also anytime you can add a super dynamic player, you do it. So if the Dolphins do end up getting Cook, that's yet another star player added to their roster. So I like a lot of the moves the Dolphins made on offense. It's now about keeping Tua upright and healthy for a full season, and if that happens, I again expect this offense to be among the top in the league. But now I want to transition to Jaylen Waddle because I think he's the X factor for this Dolphins offense this year. Since being drafted in the 2021 NFL Draft, Waddle has been nothing short of sensational. He set the NFL record for catches as a rookie with 104, hit over 1,000 yards with 6 touchdowns, and that was with the Dolphins largely using him as a slot wide receiver, which is not maximizing his skill set. He only averaged 9.8 yards per catch, but this past year is really when he exploded onto the scene. He had 75 catches for 1,356 yards and 8 touchdowns, and he also led the league with 18.1 yards per catch, which is just insane. And this year, I think he's going to take yet another step and probably set a career high in yards once again. There's been some crazy footage of his offseason workouts that have gone viral all across social media. Even the NFL Twitter and Instagram page posted about it. It looks like he's practicing his cutting, change of direction, his route running. He's already one of the fastest wide receivers in the league. We've known about his speed since his Bama days, but if he further improves his route running and ability to manipulate defenders with his foot movement, he's only going to be harder to defend. I'd argue after last season he might already be a top 10 wide receiver in football, but if he does build off this production from last year, it's not out of the realm of possibility to project Waddle to be a top 5 wide receiver in the league one day. So the fact that you have Tyreek Hill on one side, and we know what Tyreek is going to bring to the table, he's largely going to be the one double teamed, bracketed, and focused on by opposing defenses. That gives Waddle free range to feast. That's why I think if the Dolphins offense is going to be a top 3 unit next year, Waddle will have to take another step, and from all accounts, it looks like he's headed in that direction in year number 3. And I've loved a lot of the things that Waddle has said in his offseason pressers. He's really the only Dolphin I've heard talk about their fall off as an offense last season. So the fact that he acknowledges that to the media and knows that they need to be more consistent, I think sets a good precedent for the rest of the team. On top of that, he said that he's put on a lot of muscle this offseason, how he wants to become an even bigger threat after the catch by being able to break tackles more effectively. So personally, I'm really excited to see how much Waddle grows next year and how much more important he becomes to the Dolphins offense and their team. But in regards to all the moves that the Fins have made in the past 2 years, it's hard not to see this team as a real threat in the AFC. The conference is stacked like never before, but when you look at all the talent on this roster, the Dolphins might be one of those teams atop the list. I think it's going to be a really interesting season in the AFC, and especially the AFC East, because now the division is a lot better. The Buffalo Bills are still in the division. They've been Super Bowl contenders for the last several years. I think they're going to still be very good next season. The New York Jets, they made one of the biggest moves in the offseason, getting Aaron Rodgers. They finally have a competent quarterback now to pair with their defense, which was really good last year. And then the Patriots with Bill Belichick, they finally got a real offensive coordinator. Their offense should be better next year, and they're always going to be a hard team to get rid of just because of how well coached they are. So when I think back to last season, when everybody thought the AFC West was going to be some gauntlet of a division, but then in reality they ended up only having one really good team, I think the AFC East could actually be the type of division this year with all 4 teams in it competing for a playoff spot late into December. Time, of course, will tell if that will formulate into being the truth, but regardless, I think the AFC East is going to be a really entertaining division next year. But let me know what you think about the Miami Dolphins and how many games you think they're going to win in 2023. Also, let me know if you think they're going to win the AFC East or your prediction on who will take the division next year. But subscribe to the channel if you are new, drop a like on the video if you did enjoy it, and as always, thank you so much for watching the video, and I will catch you guys in my next one.